morning, everybody. Welcome to Don't Speak with Johnny Storm. News you're not supposed to speak about. Well, here's one that I guarantee you not many people are speaking about. This is from Diljana.bg. This is a Bulgarian website. Now, Diljana is a Bulgarian investigative journalist and Middle East correspondent. Over the last 2 years, she's published a series of revealing reports on weapons supplies to terrorists in Syria and Iraq. Her current work is focused on biological weapons programs. Now, her Twitter feed and everything is in here. I highly suggest following this person. She's written some really good stuff, and this one's good. This one's going to be long, so I'm going to warn you about that up front. But it's worth it. Now, the Bible says this. This is what popped into my mind after reading this today. There is nothing hidden that will not be revealed, and nothing concealed that will not be known and illuminated. Luke 8:17. It's all coming to light now, isn't it? All of these programs, all of these deep state shenanigans are coming to light. U.S. diplomats involved in trafficking of human blood and pathogens for secret military program. But nothing going on here. Nothing to see here, right? So Pentagon scientists have been deployed in 25 countries and given diplomatic immunity to research deadly viruses, bacteria, and toxins at a U.S. military offshore biolaboratory under a $2.1 billion DoD program. Now, the U.S. Embassy to Tbilisi transports frozen human blood and pathogens as diplomatic cargo for a secret U.S. military program. Internal documents implicating U.S. diplomats in the transportation of and experimenting on pathogens under diplomatic cover were leaked to me by Georgian insiders. According to these documents, Pentagon scientists have been deployed to the Republic of Georgia and have been given diplomatic immunity to research deadly diseases and biting insects at the Lugar Center, the Pentagon biolaboratory in Georgia's capital, Tbilisi. This military facility is just one of the many Pentagon biolaboratories in 25 countries across the world. They are funded by the Defense Threat Reduction Agency, or DTRA, under a $2.1 billion military program, Cooperative Biological Engagement Program, or CBEP. All these abbreviations of their government, unreal. And are located in the former Soviet Union countries such as Georgia and Ukraine, the Middle East, Southeast Asia, and Africa. Now here's the one in Tbilisi. Instead of investigating the health of its own citizens, or investing in the health of its own citizens, the U.S. government has spent $161 million of U.S. taxpayer money on the Lugar Center in Tbilisi for research on deadly diseases and biting insects abroad. Now, the question is, why is all of this top secret? Why is it all classified? And that gives you a map from Tbilisi to the airbase. We also have troops stationed here as well. Did you know that? They're there. Now, the Pentagon Biolaboratory is heavily guarded. All passers-by within a radius of 100 meters are filmed through the military biolaboratory is located, although the military biolaboratory is located within a residential area. Great place for a biolab, right? You got guinea pigs right next door. Now, here's a picture of her being filmed while talking to local residents on the street near the biolab. She wanted to know why the guards were filming her, and they warned her that if she didn't comply, show my passport, and leave this place, she would be arrested. My official request to the Lugar Center for access to the facility and for interviews has also been rejected. And there's security checking her out. Secret experiments at night. However, I go back at night when the laboratory is seemingly still working. No matter how far the distance, the air is laden with the smell of chemicals. The smell coming from the Lugar Center at night is blown by the wind to the residential area. Local residents from the Alexieva Skivka neighborhood where the laboratory is located complain that dangerous chemicals are being secretly burnt at night and that hazardous waste is being emptied into the nearby river through the laboratory's pipes. You see, they'd never get away with this crap here, so they're going to do it overseas in 25 different countries, including this Georgia. Here's more pictures of the facility, this time at night. A diplomatic car with U.S. Embassy registration plates can be seen in the car park of the Lugar Center at night. There it is. A few hours later, the diplomatic vehicle is still in the car park of the Lugar Center, and there's a strong smell of chemicals in the area. Locals complain of constant headaches, nausea, high blood pressure, and dizziness when chemicals are being burnt at night in the laboratory, which is just a couple hundred meters from their homes. There is a smoke, black, red, green at night, or especially early in the morning at around 3 or 4 a.m. Even the hens have died. They put in a big pipe underground and connected it to the drains. This smell comes from there. It smells like rotten eggs and decaying hay. The smell is so bad and is spread in different directions by the wind, says Atiri Gotisi, who lives in a block of flats next to the laboratory. Well, this woman here says she has a thyroid disease. There are families of 3 people in the neighborhood, and all 3 of them have a thyroid disease. They say it's because of the laboratory. And I wouldn't doubt it. God only knows what's coming up to with that gas. Now, Albert here, he lives 300 meters from the laboratory, shows the 4 chimneys from the Lugar Center, which release smoke at night. Sometimes the wind spreads the smell of rotten eggs. Once I woke up early in the morning and noticed violet smoke coming from the laboratory. At nighttime, they let the smoke out so that people don't see. Why at night? What are they hiding from us? He asks, and then provides another worrying fact. There are big blue plastic pipes along the street from the laboratory and from where everything goes to the river, which is 3 to 4 kilometers away. Not only do they pollute our air, but they also poison our water. Now here's one I bet you've never heard of. Locals, poisonous gas killed 2 Filipinos. Neighbors recall a tragic incident involving 4 Filipinos who worked at the Lugar Center. 2 of the foreigners died of an alleged gas poisoning in their rented flat in Block 44 of the settlement. The first time when they called emergency service, we were told that they had food poisoning from fish. But the second time when the ambulance came, there was foam coming out of their mouths. That sounds like sarin, doesn't it? What they're trying to fake in Syria? They were shouting, "Help, help," when they passed away. They took them away and covered it all up. It all happened here. That was Albert Nurburken, and he's showing them right here the sealed room where they supposedly died. Where they did die. Right there. So, another witness, Elvira Ratiani, who lived next door and witnessed the foreigners die before her eyes. They were my neighbors. We lived on the same floor. And once they were poisoned and asked us to call the emergency service. We phoned and the emergency service saved them. They said it was probably fish poisoning. The second time, they knocked on the door and asked again for help. There were 4 Filipinos. 2 of them were saved, but the other 2 died. So there you go. And it was in Block 44, right next to the laboratory. Human blood and pathogens is diplomatic cargo to the U.S. Embassy. Leaked documents. Internal documents and correspondence between the Ministry of Health of Georgia and the U.S. Embassy to Tbilisi show what experiments have been conducted at the Lugar Center. Leaked documents reveal that the U.S. Embassy to Tbilisi transports pathogens, as well as frozen human blood, as diplomatic cargo. Well, of course, because then you have complete immunity and can carry whatever you want. No, there's a picture of the embassy, and that's the address to which pathogens and blood samples are being shipped to. And here's the documents to back it up. These are from 2017. There's antigens and serums and so forth, diplomatic cargo. So somebody leaked a lot of stuff to her, and that's good. Now, diplomatic cargo shipments are exempt from inspections and taxes, according to instructions from the Pentagon's Defense Threat Reduction Agency, which oversees and funds the laboratories. Biological materials for the needs of the program must be shipped as hand-carrying items to the U.S. embassies. Oh, sure, that way they don't get inspected. In cases of importing to Russia, this biological material must be carried by diplomats in a diplomatic pouch and sealed as diplomatic cargo. And then there's even instructions for the Pentagon about prostitutes being strictly prohibited, and they're not supposed to have sex abroad. I suppose that came from the Secret Service scandals of a few years ago. U.S. scientists test viruses under diplomatic immunity. Tasked with the program at the Lugar Center are biologists from the U.S. Army Medical Research Unit, Georgia, along with private American contractors and the U.S. Center for Disease Control. Certain zones of the laboratory are classified zones and accessible only to American citizens with security clearance. They are accorded diplomatic immunity under the 2002 U.S.-Georgia Agreement on Defense Cooperation. They always put their loopholes in, folks. And that's the agreement right there. Joshua Bast is the Deputy Director of U.S. Army Medical Research Unit, Georgia. The American military scientist drives a diplomatic car and enjoys diplomatic immunity without being a diplomat. And there he is there at the Lugar Center, getting into his car. Now, he has been deployed to Georgia since 2015 by the Pentagon Walter Reed's Army Institute of Research. His military unit also operates a separate laboratory inside the Lugar Center, the Walter Reed Army Institute of Research Laboratory. However, when I confront him at the entrance of the laboratory, he flatly denies that he works at the Lugar Center. And here's some dialogue that they had. Why are you driving a diplomatic car and why are you working at the Lugar Center? He says, I don't work here. You work here because we saw this car the last day and you are here again. Are you from the U.S. Embassy? He says, yes. What are you doing here at the Lugar Center? Are you a scientist? And he drives away. Busted. I bet you wasn't expecting that. However, leaked emails between the Pentagon and the Georgian Ministry of Health below proves him wrong. Joshua Bast does work at the Lugar Center. And here are the documents right here. So, Joshua Bast is the Deputy Director of U.S. Army Unit, Georgia, according to leaked correspondence between the Pentagon Medical Research Unit in Georgia and the Georgian Health Ministry. The address of USAMRU, Georgia, indicated in this official email above, is the address of the Lugar Center. Why does a Pentagon employee lie about his workplace? They do it all the time, folks. I have not received any answer. Joshua Bast drives off immediately after being challenged. Here's more diplomatic plates on cars at the Lugar Center. Once again, they can't be searched or stopped or harassed for any reason. Now, what's kind of funny here is here's someone who works there filming her while she's back here, I don't know, maybe 100 yards away or so, filming him in the center. The Lugar Center security guard warns me to stay where I am and not to move. However, I run away. After I refuse to comply, the security guards jump into an unmarked car, but I managed to escape. So she got away. That must have been a nice adrenaline rush. So these security guards patrolling the area around the laboratory in an unmarked car are paid for by the Pentagon. Imagine that. And not by the government of Georgia, according to information obtained from the U.S. Federal Court Contract Registry. Hence, Georgia has no control over the activities of its foreign sponsor. Furthermore, the Pentagon scientists can work in direct violation of international law. And that's exactly what this whole operation is about in Georgia and worldwide. Now I'll stop there and I'll let you read the rest, but it's all documented. Oh, this is interesting. I guess I won't stop there. Drone for releasing of toxic mosquitoes. Now, we've talked about this in California and Florida. They were just talking about GMO mosquitoes in California. So, the work that U.S. diplomats perform at Lugar Center has nothing to do with diplomacy and does not fall under the Vienna Convention on Diplomatic Relations. Joshua Bast, for instance, is an entomologist and researches insects, according to a video released by the U.S. Embassy to promote the peaceful purposes of the otherwise military program of the U.S. in Georgia. But why does an entomologist work for the U.S. Army and why is he accorded diplomatic immunity? Entomological warfare is a type of biological warfare that uses insects to transmit disease. Georgia borders on the U.S. main rival, Russia. Moscow has repeatedly voiced its concerns about the potential development of biological weapons near the Russian borders, including the spread of disease through insects. Such fears are not groundless, considering a recent U.S. patent for toxic mosquito aerial release system granted by the United States Patent and Trademark Office in 2014. The invention includes a drone which can release infected mosquitoes. And there's the documentation. Right there, United States patent, toxic mosquito aerial release system. Amazing. This is really good work. Really good work. I did text her through Facebook, and I did get an answer, so we'll see what happens. I congratulate her on the story and then also for an interview, so we'll see. According to the patent documents, the drone is capable of delivering lethal and non-lethal toxins, including any agent that can be carried and administered by a mosquito. The inventor of the drone for the releasing of toxic mosquitoes, S. Mill Calvert, has patented 42 similar military inventions for the U.S. Army and Special Forces, including stroke-inducing bullets in a span of just 2 years from 2013 to 2015. A person with such a name, however, does not exist in the U.S. Citizens Registry. The U.S. patent lawyer, Louis Ventre, who filed the application, declined to comment if this name is a pseudonym and who his client actually was. He says, I am not authorized to tell you anything about my client. And attorney-client privilege applies. So there you go. Documents show a number of Pentagon projects involving insects as possible vectors of disease in Georgia. In 2014, the Lugar Center was equipped with an insect facility and launched a project on sandflies in Georgia and the Caucasus. In 2014 to 2015, sandfly species were collected under another project, surveillance work on acute febrile illness, and all female sandflies were tested to determine their infectivity rate. A third project, also including sandflies collection, studied the characteristics of their salivary glands. Sandflies carry dangerous parasites in their saliva, which they can then transmit to humans through a bite. So should any wonder if Russia's a little paranoid? Maybe us doing biological weapons testing on their borders? Yeah. Imagine if they were doing that on the Mexican border or the Canadian border with us. I don't think we'd be too happy about it. I know I wouldn't be. So the Pentagon scientists have also performed experiments involving tropical mosquitoes and ticks in Georgia. In 2016, 21,590 ticks were collected for a DNA database for future studies at the Lugar Center under the Pentagon project assessing the seroprevalence and genetic diversity of Crimean Congo hemorrhagic fever virus and hantaviruses in Georgia. So they're bringing in all this crap, and if any of this gets out, even by accident, then what? But see, it's over there, so nobody here is really going to care. That's why they're doing this. That's why they have these agreements. That's why they pay off all the officials they need to pay off. God only knows how much Black Ops money has gone into this. You know, the money that the CIA and others get for trafficking the drugs from Afghanistan and South America into the U.S. and Europe. You know, they get a nice big chunk of that. That's off the books money. White powder over Chechnya. The Defense Threat Reduction Agency, which runs the U.S. military program at the Lugar Center in Georgia, is alleged to have already performed field tests with an unknown substance in Chechnya, Russia. In June 2017, local citizens reported on a drone disseminating white powder close to the Russian border with Georgia. That's traces of white powder on his car, which he said is regularly spread into the area. God only knows what they're spraying on. The Pentagon does have drones for powder dissemination of biological agents, according to information obtained from the U.S. Federal Contracts Registry. Such field tests involving drones for bioagent dispersion have been performed since 2012 at Dugway Proving Ground, Utah. The military facility not only produces live bioagents, which includes anthrax, botulism toxin, tularemia, etc., under the pretext of studying them, but also disseminates them through aerosol, powder, and explosives, as proven in a 2012 U.S. Army report. Once again, she's got everything documented here, folks. It's incredible. Now, I've known about some of these programs, but this goes into a lot more detail than I've ever known about. So there's U.S. Army documents and photos that show the Pentagon has developed various dissemination methods for bioterrorism attacks, including by explosives. Here it is right here. Dissemination by explosives. Dissemination of contaminants right there. That's how they release them with explosives. Then they can do it with helicopters and aerosols. Powder dissemination. Dissemination on the test grid. That's at the proving grounds in Utah. Despite having various military capabilities to disperse bioagents, DTRA has also full access to the Russian borders, granted under a military program called Georgia Land Border Security Project. The activities related to this project have been outsourced to a private American company, Parsons Government Services International. Parsons has been awarded a $7.7 million contract under the Pentagon Border Security Project in Georgia. DTRA has previously contracted Parsons for similar border security projects in Lebanon, Jordan, Libya, and Syria. Interestingly, a subcontractor working on this border security project, TMC Global Professional Services, also happens to be contracted by DTRA for scientific support at the Lugar Center. The same American company, TMC, which works at the Lugar Center, also carries out surveillance for WMD on the Georgian borders. The project coincides with the incident involving powder dissemination, which was reported and filmed in neighboring Chechnya close to the Georgian border. The private contractors. The DTRA has outsourced much of the work under the military program to private companies, which are not accountable to Congress, and which can operate more freely and move around the rule of law. Well, of course, there's going to be private contractors involved. There it is right there. That was an email dated 16 February 2018, was sent by an employee of the private contractor TMC. And it was on behalf of the Pentagon unit at the Lugar Center to ask for a meeting with the Georgian Minister of Health. That was a $3.8 million contract in 2016 and running until 2021 for support services at the Lugar Center. Interestingly, the same year, the same private company was awarded another $970 million narco-terrorism contract by the Pentagon. Why has a company which works for the Pentagon on a program to counter narcotics been concurrently given work at a military laboratory which burns chemicals at night? It's all in who you know. Leaked documents reveal another company involved in the program in Georgia, Booz Allen Hamilton. I'll stop right there real quick. Booz Allen Hamilton is one of the shadiest organizations on the planet. One of my good friends who passed away not too long ago, his daughter dated someone who worked for them. And she found out, through dating him, that he was a psychopath and broke up with him. But he made the life of her and her family a living hell. Told the neighbors that they were drug dealers, told the local cops that they were drug dealers, and had them surveilled 24/7. Harassed when they drove around town. It was brutal. It finally stopped, but it went on for a little over a year. These are really horrible people. And that's who Snowden worked for, so take what he says with a couple grains of salt as well. So Snowden's former employer, Booz Allen Hamilton, has been awarded 5 lucrative contracts by the DTRA since 2010, running until 2022, totaling at least $358 million for intelligence support and chemical weapons agent support services. And there's more documentation of it. And it just goes on and on. There's more labs in Guinea and Sierra Leone, Liberia. Now, here she was when she asked about, she asked U.S. Assistant Secretary of Health Robert Kadlec for a comment during a conference on biological weapons at the European Parliament in Brussels, and then she was immediately expelled from the conference. And there he is right there. And of course, in this video, he completely denies everything. It's all for peaceful purposes. It's all out in the open, even though it's classified. These people just can't stop lying. Documents reveal some of the projects funded by the Pentagon. Among them, projects related to Russia. The U.S. Air Force is specifically collecting Russian RNA and synovial tissue samples, raising fears in Moscow of a covert U.S. ethnic bioweapons program. Of course. It's just a continuation of all these Nazi programs that were run in the camps in World War II. It never really went away, folks. The Pentagon has also studied the Russian anthrax strain, for which Russia has a vaccine, a Russian Yersinia pestis strain, which causes plague, as well as the genome sequence of the Russian Crimean Congo hemorrhagic fever virus strain. It's all what they're working on. And I can't blame Russia for being paranoid, not one bit. Leaked emails between the director of the Lugar Center and the Minister of Health of Georgia also reveal an ongoing Pentagon project on Crimean Congo hemorrhagic fever in the country. The Georgians have been used as laboratory rabbits, hence all the headaches and vomiting and so on when they smell those smells. So I'll let you read the rest of it and the documentation for yourself, but it's an excellent story, and it's definitely worth your time. So there you have it. I originally got it from the antimedia.com. It was linked up through them. So definitely give her a follow on Twitter and Facebook. She definitely has her stuff together. Diliana. I'm not going to try and pronounce her last name because I'll probably butcher it. So if I get her for an interview, I'll have to have her pronounce it for you. So, or I'll have to rehearse it many times after getting it right. All right, there you go, folks. That's all I've got for now. Nothing really to update about Syria or anything else at this moment, but I will keep you abreast if something changes. All right, God bless. Take care. Johnny Storm, don't speak.